Hello everyone, it's time for an English lesson, and today with you Anzhelika Buravenko from school number 219. Today in the lesson we shall revise some material we have learned in the previous lessons. So our topic is health problems, injuries and illnesses. Well, and we shall have a small piece of writing today. So look at the screen. We have health problems, and here we have two categories: illnesses and symptoms, and injuries and traumas. So, what do we have here? A toothache. Let's just repeat the words. A toothache is when your tooth hurts. Well, next we have, he's sneezing. She has a terrible headache and a fever, it seems to me. Well, probably she has a bad cold. So next, a splitting headache, a stomach ache, a backache, well, an earache when your ear hurts. Next is runny nose, she is coughing, a sore throat. Well, these are the symptoms of illnesses or injuries and traumas. What do you think? I think you're right. These are illnesses and symptoms. And now, let's do it once again. Look, a bruise, a broken leg, oh, a burn or a scald, a twisted wrist, a broken arm, sprained ankle, a black eye, to slip over, to trip on or over a bump, well, when you have hit your head or something, well, fell off the bike or fell off somewhere, cut or bleeding we have here, and graze. When you scratch your skin, you have graze. Well, and these are, what do you think? Yeah, these are injuries and traumas. Well, so, once again, bruise, broken leg, burn or scald, bump, to slip over, broken arm, twisted ankle, black eye, to trip over, bleeding or cut, fell off, and graze. So, let's move on. When somebody is not well or something has happened, what can you do? If you know what to do, you can give a piece of advice, or you can call the doctor or ambulance. So, if someone has a headache, a sore throat, a fever or a high temperature, if he or she feels unwell, has a runny nose, a backache, has an accident or a burn, has bleeding or a broken bone, you can give him a piece of advice what to do. But don't forget that you should use the words should or shouldn't. And here in this column you can see some ideas. Well, what shall we do? Take a painkiller, gargle your throat, stay in bed or stay at home, drink more hot tea, it seems to me. Well, call the doctor, use a nasal spray, shouldn't carry heavy things. When you have a backache, call for help, put it in a cold water, press a piece of clean cloth, and call the ambulance. Your task is to make some sentences with these columns. Don't forget to use should or shouldn't. Let's look at some examples. Well, for example, if you have a headache and feel unwell, you should stay at home and call the doctor. Or, when you have an accident, you should call the ambulance immediately. Well, and now let's just think of some sentences. For example, if you have a runny nose, you should use a nasal spray. Well, so if you have a fever or high temperature, you definitely should stay in bed, stay at home and stay in bed and call for help or call your doctor. But if you, for example, have an accident, well, you should call the ambulance. Or you can make up such sentence: if you have an accident, call for help. If you can't help your friend or your family, you must call for help. Well, so I hope that some sentences you can write in your copybooks now or after this lesson. Let's move on. Look at this picture. What can you tell me about it? We can see a girl here. Is she at home or not? She is in bed. Is she going to sleep? Or is she getting ready to go to sleep? I don't think so. Well, what I can see that she is pale, she has her clothes on and she has a scarf on her throat. Maybe she has a sore throat and she is sad. She is writing something. Well, it seems to me she is in hospital. Do you agree with me? Well, and she is writing now. What do you think she is writing? Any ideas? Well, let's just read this short text. I will help you. Dear Anne, this is just a short letter to let you know that I am in hospital. But don't worry, it's nothing serious. I have got a quinsy again. You know, I had so many sore throats last year. My throat was pretty sore when I woke up 2 days ago. I had a fever. My mom was worried and called the doctor. Now I feel much better, but it is still difficult for me to swallow and to speak. The doctor says that I need to stay in hospital for a few days to avoid serious complications. I've got lots of books and magazines, but even so, being in hospital is boring. I am not allowed to go for a walk and I don't know what to do with my time. Anyway, it would be great to hear from you. A letter with some news would really cheer me up. I hope to see you very soon. Best wishes, Jane. Well, and you can see that she is writing a letter to her friend. Well, I have some questions for you to answer. The first question is, why is Jane writing a letter? Look at this text and tell me what passage says us this information. Why is she writing? Well, the first passage, and we can see here it is just short letter to let you know. Well, she wants to let her friends know that she is in hospital and to tell her some news. Well, next question we have. How does she feel? If you look more close to the text, you can see some symptoms here. Well, she says here, throat was pretty sore, had a fever, called the doctor. Well, so this passage is the answer to the second question. Well, she feels ill. She is in hospital. Well, what does she ask her friend to do? The last question for you. Well, it would be great to hear from you, she says. A letter with some news would really cheer me up. Well, she asks her friend, Anne, to write a letter to tell her some news to cheer her up. It is very boring to stay in hospital. I think you will agree with this. Well, and now, look at the letter. It is a letter to a close friend. So, at the end, she has best wishes and Jane. And now, look at this. When you write a letter to a close friend or to a family, you should use this structure. The first, greeting. Well, dear Anne is greeting. Next, explaining why you are writing. Next, telling about main events. Well, what has happened or what happened. Next, adding some information. You can use it or you can just move forward. Ending the letter and saying goodbye. Well, this is the structure of the letter. Don't forget to use it when you write letters. And now, a small task for you. We have our structure and we have the letter. So your task is to tell what part of letter matches what structure. So greeting, please tell me, where is greeting? Well, here it is. Dear Anne, Well, you can write here, dear friend, or dear granny, or whatever. Well, next, explaining why you are writing. This is this passage. You are absolutely right. This is a short letter to let you know the time in hospital. She is telling the news. Why is she writing? Next we have telling about main events. Where is this part? Okay, here it is. My throat was pretty sore, and mom called the doctor, and doctor says I need to stay in hospital. Well, these are main events, the main body of our letter, the main news. Well, next we have adding some information. Well, and she is saying that I've got lots of books and magazines, but still I'm bored, I'm not allowed to go for a walk. Well, she adds some information about her staying in hospital. Next we have ending the letter. Well, how can we end our letter? Anyway, it would be great to hear from you. Well, and she asks her friend to write her a reply. And then saying goodbye. Well, it is our part. Best wishes, Jane. Well, it is very important to use this structure to write an informal letter to your friend or your family. Don't forget about this. And now let's see the whole letter in proper way. Well, we have greeting, we have explaining why we are writing, why is she writing here, telling the main news, well, adding some information, and ending the letter and saying goodbye. Well, this is the whole structure of our letter. When you write a letter to your close friend, it's better to use informal language, common words which you use every day. Well, here are some phrases to help you. Well, when you want to explain why you are writing, you can just use this is a short letter to let you know that, like Jane uses in her letter. Well, or I'm writing to tell you some news. When you receive such letter from your friend who is in hospital, you have to, when you are writing a reply, you have to sympathize and react to this letter. Okay? So, when you want to react to this letter, to the letter of your friend, you can say, I was sorry to hear about your illness, or I was really sad to hear that you are in hospital. So next, you have the main body of the letter, telling about main events. It happened on, for example, Monday or Tuesday, it happened in winter, it happened, well, it happened so that. It happened so that I was walking down the street and just fell on my arm, and now I have sprained wrist, or twisted wrist, we can say. Well, next, if you want to add some information in your letter or change the subject a little bit, you can use these words. Anyway, or now, or also. When you end your letter, you can use these phrases. Write me, it would be great to hear from you, I hope to see you soon. Well, and then you should say goodbye. All the best, best wishes, love. And don't forget to write down your name. Well, these phrases can help you to write excellent letters to your friends. And now I have a home task for you. Write a reply to Jane's letter to cheer her up. Think of ideas, how can you cheer her up, and write a letter. Don't forget to use the structure. Greet. First you greet her, dear Jane, for example, or dear, my dear friend. Explain why you are writing. Don't forget to sympathize to her letter, to react to her letter. Then tell your news. Add some information to your news, end the letter, and say goodbye. I'm sure you will write excellent letters, and Jane will cheer up, and she will get well faster. Today we revised some material on the topic health problems. We refreshed some vocabulary, some words about illnesses, injuries and traumas. Well, and we have learned to write an informal letter to your friend. Don't forget about this structure. It is very important. Thank you for your work. You were excellent students today. That's all for today. Stay healthy and see you next week.